So in today's video, we are going to be discussing the Kansas City Chiefs' second and third round draft picks in the 2022 NFL Draft. Now, before we get into the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let's jump right into the video. So I'll make a whole video discussing and giving the Chiefs a grade for their draft as a whole, but just as the draft so far, I think Brett Veach has done a fantastic job. I love all the picks that he has made, and all the picks, honestly, they make sense. In the first round, he went out, he drafted positions on the defense, he went hard on the defense. That's one thing he's done really well in this draft, is he's doing everything he can to build this defense into something that's good, because the Chiefs have not had a good defense in a really long time. It's been the offense that have carried this team, especially ever since Patrick Mahomes got there. So Brett Veach is doing a great job. He's going after defensive players. He's doing a great job building that defense. He's not overreacting. He never bundled and traded up too many picks to move up. He moved up to the 21st pick in the first round to draft Trent McDuffie. But other than that, Brett Veach has sat there. He stayed pretty patient, just sat there, let the board play out, and then took the best player that he thought when it came to him. He hasn't really overreacted, and I think he's done a really good job, and he's hit on, I think, so far, I know we can't say anything, but I think he's hit on a lot of the draft picks, that he has made so far. So we're going to work in reverse, and we're going to start with the Chiefs' third round pick number 103, and Leo Cannell, linebacker out of Wisconsin. I like this pickup. I think it's a great pickup. It's going to add depth to the linebacking room for the Kansas City Chiefs. You already have studs in there with Nick Bolton and Willie Gay. You have Jermaine Carter that's in that linebacking room right now. So this is going to add great depth to it, and it's also going to add a really good player. He's really good at stopping the run, and that's something with Ben Neiman when the Chiefs had him last year that the Chiefs weren't particularly good at with the linebacking core, especially when he was on the field, at stopping the run. So adding Leo Cannell to that defense and to that linebacking core is really going to help that run defense improve mightily. I think it's going to really help the run defense. In his college career, he had 178 tackles, 11 sacks, 1 interception, and 25 career games. And then in 2021, by far his best season, had 115 tackles, 18.5 tackles for loss, and 8 sacks. So I really love this pickup of Leo Cannell. He's really going to add value to this defense, going to add depth to this defense, and it's going to add a guy who can help stop the run on this defense. And then as we're working backwards, we get to the Chiefs' second round picks. We have the second round 62nd pick and Bryan Cook, the safety out of Cincinnati. This is going to add, again, it feels like it's a depth piece that the Chiefs are adding to the secondary. They already have L'Jarius Sneed, Rashad Fenton at corner right now. They have Justin Reed and Juan Thornhill at safety. And then obviously adding Bryan Cook is going to add more depth at the safety position, with the Chiefs need, because they did lose Daniel Sorensen. I know Daniel Sorensen was frustrating as all heck to watch at times. He was really bad at times. But at the end of the day, this just adds even more depth at that position and a really good depth piece that might even turn into a starter at some point. Like, I think watching what he can do, he's very, very good. He's a safety that's going to give the Chiefs great support in the run defense. He plays the pass very well, but he's also a really hard-hitting safety. He will come up and he's not afraid to dish out a huge blow. He'll hit the receiver, he'll hit the offensive player as hard as he can. He has no issue with it. It's not dirty. He's just going to hit the guy really hard, and he's going to make a statement. He's going to know that he's there. He can come up to the line of scrimmage. He can make plays in the run game. So he's going to be a really good player for the Chiefs in the secondary. And then obviously with the Chiefs, as we mentioned earlier, with them missing tackles a lot, you had Ben Neiman for the linebacking core, Daniel Sorensen for the safety position. You're going to add Bryan Cook to that safety position. He's going to come up. He's going to be able to make those tackles that Daniel Sorensen missed all of last season. And he might eventually get into a starting role. And in his college career, 21 games, 124 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. Again, the numbers don't explain the whole story. What he brings to the football field is a very physical style of football that is going to bring some hard-hitting defense to the Kansas City Chiefs. And then we look at their first pick in the second round, pick number 22, which was Skyy Moore, the wide receiver out of Western Michigan. And I could not be more excited, because the Chiefs, they went heavy on the draft, and I was all for it. They drafted Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, they drafted Leo Cannell, and then they drafted Bryan Cook. So they went really heavy on the defense, but then they finally went for the offense with their first pick in the second round, taking Skyy Moore, the wide receiver. And it addresses the wide receiver receiver need that the Kansas City Chiefs needed after losing Tyreek Hill, trading him to the Miami Dolphins. And it's just going to add another piece to the wide receiver room, to the wide receiving core that's already really good and really solid right now. You have Juju, you have MVS, you have Hardman, you have Travis Kelce. I know he's a tight end, but you could argue he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's that good. So you add Skyy Moore to that, and you have a really good, solid wide receiver core. I think Brett Veach did an amazing job. I know there were some guys in the first round that fans wanted the Chiefs to move up and take, but I think Brett Veach did a good job staying patient and picked a guy that I really like. And whenever I saw that he was drafted, the very first comp that the NFL Network gave him was Antonio Brown. I instantly got excited. I'm like, well, dang, we instantly have a Hall of Famer at wide receiver, and Patrick Mahomes gets to throw to a Hall of Fame wide receiver that's going to be playing in his first year. Like, if that's the case and he turns out to be like Antonio Brown, the Chiefs are going to have a stud for the next 10 years. Depending on how expensive he gets, because wide receivers are expensive right now, but he's going to be a really good player. You look at what he's able to do. He gets off the ball extremely well. He doesn't have the greatest speed, but his very first step off the line is more than good enough that he can leave the corner in the dust. It's in the NFL, they're not as slow, and the reaction times are much faster in the NFL than what they are in college, but his first step off the line is so good that he can create himself open. He has good route running skills. He's kind of like Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp doesn't have necessarily the most speed in the world, but Cooper Kupp is just so good at moving around, getting himself open. But you see and you know how great Cooper Kupp is, and if Skyy Moore is anything comparable to what they have with Antonio Brown or with Cooper Kupp, he's gonna be a great receiver. As I said, he's great at getting himself open. He has great hands. He can jump up in the air. He can make amazing plays. He can moss people, basically. He makes great plays. He's a great wide receiver. He can get himself open, and that's going to be a huge addition to the Chiefs offense, because you're going to have the speed of MVS. You have an all-around great receiver in Juju Smith-Schuster. You have Hardman, who's a gadget guy, but is also very underrated and was playing great football down the stretch. Obviously, Travis Kelce. So you have those guys now. I'm really loving the wide receiver core that the Chiefs are going to be rolling out next year. It's going to be hard to defend. But if we're looking at some stats from Skyy Moore in his time in college, he played 30 games, 171 receptions, 2,482 yards, and 16 touchdowns. And then obviously his best season coming in his final year of college, 95 receptions, 1,292 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So he averages 107 yards per game. And if that translates to the NFL, he's going to be a great player for the Kansas City Chiefs. And obviously, as you can see with those numbers, the college season is much shorter, and he had 95 receptions. So he's a high volume catcher, and he's very reliable. If you need a catch, get him the ball. And if any of what Skyy Moore could do in college translates to the NFL game, this Chiefs offense is going to be perfectly fine. But those are my thoughts on the Chiefs' second and third round picks. What do you think of the Chiefs' second and third round picks? Do you think Brett Veach did a good job in this year's draft? Give me your thoughts down below of what you think of this Chiefs draft so far, and I'll see you in the next one.